Olenzon Eye, Ear, and Nose Throat Center, located at 066 MacArthur Highway, Angeles City. You can contact them at 045-888-0411 or 045-625-2525.
Welcome back to All About Vision. I'm your host, Dr. Olenzon. I forgot to explain a while ago regarding the eye muscles. Okay, because the eye muscles are considered the external part of the eyeball. So just visualize this as our eyeball cut in half, cross section. Okay, so what we'll do, this is actually the internal part of the eye, which is I'm going to discuss later. And then this is the external part of the eye, which is, the optic nerve, okay? And there are these muscles, okay? The muscles, what do they do? The muscles of the eye, they actually are for eye movement. So if there's a problem with eye movement, you'll have double vision. So imagine there are two eyeballs like this simultaneously hanging here, like our two eyes, okay? So if our eye moves here, wants to look to the left, my left, the other eye should also move to the left. So this muscle and the other muscle here should contract at the same time. And the other muscle should also contract at the same time if the eye wants to turn right. So could you imagine the complexity of the brain connection of the muscles of the eye and the nerves? They interconnect, okay? This is a very complicated thing, so only God knows how it works. But anything that how our eye moves is connected to all these muscles, the nerves that go through the brain, and those interactions are very important, because if not, we're going to have, suppose this eye looks there and this eye cannot, you're going to have double vision. Okay? So just to explain that the eye muscles are also very, very, very important in eye function. If one muscle doesn't work, or if one muscle just is weak, you're going to have double vision. That's why if you have problems with double vision, go to your eye doctor right away. Okay? So now we're going to explain about the internal eye. Okay? The internal eye basically has so many parts. But now we're going to go to the basic parts: the lens, the pupil, the retina, and the optic nerve. As you know, the camera, or our cameras before, still cameras, they had lenses and films. Because these days, our cameras are already digital. They don't have any film. So if you take a picture in our old cameras, you have your lens to focus on and your film so that you could capture the image. The eye is similar to that, because the eye also has a lens, it has a pupil, it has a retina or the film, and the optic nerve. The optic nerve actually goes from the eye to the brain, and that's how we perceive the images that we see. Okay. Later, we're gonna talk about the video on how the crystalline lens works. Okay. So, in the eye, if there's a problem like a cataract, or in the lens, if the lens is opacified, there's going to be blurred vision. Okay? So this is how the eye works inside. This is your lens, which is clear. Okay? It's also a cross-section like this one. So the image will go inside to the optic nerve, okay, to the macular area in the retina, and then it will go to the optic nerve, and then to the brain. Okay? And then after that, it will go to the brain, you will perceive the image. But that just shows you that the eye is just like a camera. It has a lens, and then it has a film or the retina, and then it's connected to the brain. And now we'll go to the part of the pupil. Remember, our lenses and our cameras also have apertures. Same with the eye. It has an aperture to regulate the amount of light that goes inside the eye. See? If the pupil dilates, there's a lot of light that goes inside the eye. If the pupil is constricted, there's less light that goes inside the eye. So this is very important, because if you don't have regulation of your pupil, if you go out in the sunlight and your pupil is dilated, it's going to be glary. Okay? So our next video is about how we perceive images, okay, through the optic nerve. This is actually our optic nerve inside the eye. It has your blood vessels for its nourishment, because without these blood vessels, the eye is going to die. So then there's your brain, okay? So the brain and the optic nerve are connected, okay? This is our optic nerve, okay? And these are the blood vessels. So this is the optic nerve. There are 1 million tiny axons, or very, very tiny wires that converge to the optic nerve. And then after that, there's this long, the electrical signals from the eye go inside the optic nerve and goes to the brain, and that's how we perceive the images inside the brain. Okay? Now, for example, there is a problem with the lens. Okay? Suppose there's a problem with the lens. It's going to be dirty or opacified. Of course, images inside the eye, images cannot go inside the eye. It's going to be blurred. So what are you going to do? You're going to replace the lens into an artificial lens. I'm going to explain that later. Okay? Now, for example, there's a problem with the pupil. Okay? It's just dilated. So what happens if you go outside the sunlight, there's going to be glare, because so much light is going inside your eye. So that happens when you have a dilated pupil and you go outside. Okay? So now what happens if you have a problem in the retina or the film of the eye? Here in Pampanga or Kapampangas, or in this area of the Philippines, we have a lot of people with diabetes. So that means if you have diabetes, you be careful with your blood sugar, because why? Diabetes can go in the retina, on the retina. So there could be bleeding, there could be exudates, there could be lots of things that can happen in the retina. And if that happens, just like a camera, if there's a problem with the film or the retina in the eye, you won't be able to see well. Okay? Because you're gonna, there's lots of, blood in the retina. Same thing with people that are getting old, called age-related macular degeneration. There's a problem with the retina, so their vision is blurred. Okay. One last thing is that if you have problem with the optic nerve, the connection from the eye to the brain, there will be also blurred vision. So anything that happens, or any disease that happens in that visual pathway, you will have blurred vision. That's why that whole thing that we showed you in the video, from the lens to the pupil to the optic nerve to the retina to the optic nerve and up to the brain, that should be normal. Sometimes everything is normal, but the brain is not functioning well. So it's also the same. So everything should be working together. The eye muscles, our eyelashes, our eyelids, our tears, our drainage of the tears, everything, the internal part of the eye and the external part of the eye should work together to function well. If they don't function well, and then it will cause blurred vision, or sometimes eye pain, or sometimes redness. So if you do, if you do feel anything in your eye, like for example, your vision is blurred, your vision is a little bit blurred, or double vision, or you have problems with your eye like redness, eye pain, that means there's something wrong with those structures that I told you. So anything that you feel, don't hesitate to go to your local eye doctor, your ophthalmologist, because Remember, in eye disease or any disease in the body, early detection is the key to a good success in treatment. So, don't forget, no, the eye. At least hope you learned something in our very first episode for today, how the eye works, the internal part of the eye and the external part of the eye. So anyway, that's our show for today. And hopefully you learned a lot from our episode, the very first episode of All About Vision in Pet TV. And in the near future, we're going to have a lot more episodes about eye diseases. So stay there and watch us in our future episodes. This is Dr. Ole Henson in All About Vision, your eye TV, and more.